Now, with great pleasure, let me introduce you to our speaker for today. Our speaker is Kaushal Bhavsar, and he's the VP of Platform Engineering at Omdena. Since his graduation, he has been working in AI for social and environmental good. He had worked for solar energy adaptation projects in Singapore in his early days of career, but now he wishes to make bigger impact in the AI for good domain. Working in more than 5+ early stage startups, he realized that the need for sustainable and fast paced ML development pipeline is imminent. Therefore, he created OmdenaLore, and collaborator-sourced AI for Good library. And today, he will talk about the inspiration behind OmdenaLore and how companies and individuals can benefit out of it. He will also share how you can start contributing to world's largest open source code base and make a real world social and environmental impact. So with that, I would like to hand it over to you, Kaushal. I will stop sharing.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Zarreen, for introducing me. It was a great introduction, so I hope no one wrote it for you. But disclaimer alert, my presentation is not as pretty as Zareen's, but I think you'll be able to get a lot out of it. It's very informative, so I hope you have your coffee with you. So as she mentioned, I am VP of Platform Engineering at Omdena, and Omdena is the parent organization of OmdenaLore, where we partner with different NGOs and startups to provide them AI solutions. But OmdenaLore is a child organization or child project of Omdena, and I am VP of Platform Engineering at Omdena, and I am the creator and maintainer of OmdenaLore. And we have a very impressive team of collaborators as well as managers. So yeah, and I'll tell you more about the team as well as what we are doing and what OmdenaLore is about. So as I mentioned, today's agenda, I hope everyone is able to see my screen.
Yes,
Um,
we can.
Awesome, that's great. Uh, so today's agenda is going to be first, I will be mentioning why did I need why did I feel the need of creating OmdenaLore and what exactly is OmdenaLore. Then we'll talk about how developers can get benefit out of OmdenaLore. Then moving on to organizations, startups, and individuals. And then we'll talk about how you guys can use OmdenaLore. Finally, the documentation and repository overview, and more about the community and collaboration and how you guys can apply to become a collaborator, and finally a Q&A. We'll also have a mid Q&A after the fourth point, which is like I'll tell you how to use OmdenaLore, and after that we'll have a mid Q&A just to make sure that there is no confusion or there is no doubt during the presentation. Um, Moreover, I have seen in the chat that somebody has mentioned, like 2 3 guys have mentioned that they have never contributed to open source before. And I think the people who have not contributed to open source before, OmdenaLore is a great place to start, because we differ from a normal open source or a conventional open source library, and we are more focused towards collaborators and contributors, and we provide continuous support, as I will be mentioning in this presentation. So if you're new to open source, OmdenaLore is a great place to start. Um, so let me start by telling you why exactly did we feel the need of creating OmdenaLore. So as Zareen has mentioned, that I have been working in a lot of startups, early stage startups, and in Omdena I have been since I am the VP of Platform Engineering in Omdena. In Omdena we have conducted more than 120 projects, and we have been observing things that are going inside that projects, and there are three major observations that we did. First, um, that whenever you create an AI model, uh, generally the major amount of development time that goes into that model creation is not in the model itself. It's before and after that. So let's say data creation, data gathering, data cleaning, wrangling, and a lot of stuff. And even after the model, like visualization, uploading it to Amazon S3, or deploying it on any server, any services, So that is the majority of the time that goes inside an AI project. We have also observed that when you work on a similar project, let's say if you're working on a satellite image project, there are there are a lot of code blocks that are very common in between of those. So sometimes what happens is a collaborator working or a person working on a project will see similar code blocks in different project with similar scope. And also we have observed that whenever there is an AI project, we don't just go to the very first model and just finalize it. We try different models and we don't tweak it in the very beginning. We just try out bunch of models and see which model fits our data set the best, right? So we have a selection of code. So we have to write multiple code blocks. We have to write multiple pipelines just to run our different models, which is also a very time consuming process. Before coming to the solution that we built, we have also observed that generally what happens in a NGO or a startup or any impact driven or environmental related startups, that they have a lack of data scientists or lack of or a restricted human resource in their companies. Even if, let's say, if you're a data scientist in a company, you will feel that there are a lot of backlogs as a data scientist that you need to fill, but there are other priorities that you want to focus on. So you have a lot of backlog, right? So the solution that we built was creating a open source data science platform or data science library, which is free to use by anyone, whether it is an organization, whether it is an individual. And also we build a platform where collaborators can come and contribute towards the library. And I'll tell you how this library works on. Before going to that, just a quickly brief about what exactly is OmdenaLore. So again, OmdenaLore is an open source data science package that is completely free of use from anyone's from any end, whether it's an organization or individual. And it contains basically Python classes, functions, repositories, resources, even knowledge base that can help you to accelerate your ML project and basically go to the market even before you have expected it to go. So the key features and ideas inside the library is that it's handpicked and certified collaborator source code. So any code that you see inside the library is actually reviewed or made sure that that's the best code that can go inside the library. And we have, since the collaborators that come to our project or try to collaborate in the repository have come from a data science background. So they usually, what we have inside the library is real world tested use cases, because these guys feel like these code blocks have been repeated a lot and they want to add that inside the library. Finally, we have knowledge base as well as continuous support from the library, and we take pride in becoming the first and the largest AI for good project focused library. And the key word here is project focused, because unlike open source libraries, which are focused towards building modular code, let's say they will give you the basic of a code and you will able to import it, build logic on top of it, and then you can use it in your project. But we are a project focused library, which means you will find complete pipelines inside the repository. You will find complete model code. You will find complete data loading and other code blocks that can help you to just directly import that code and start working on your project. That will help you a lot to decrease your project development time. um, yeah. So what exactly OmdenaLore can do for developers? So if you are an individual developer in any company, if you are working in a company and you feel that you have a lot of backlogs, what OmdenaLore can do for you is, if you use OmdenaLore, you will find complete blocks of code. And by complete, what I'm mean is that you will find an end-to-end code which you don't have to put logics in. So let's say if you are trying to do object detection task in your project, and you want to try YOLO model, you want to try detect on 2, and you want to try ULACT model. trying all these three models have these all models have different types of inputs and different type of code blocks that requires to run these problems. If you come to the OmdenaLore repository, you will find these models ready built for you. So what you can do is just directly import your data into that code block and run and see what are the results coming out of that model. This will help you to select the models quicker and come to a conclusion even faster. And not just related to models, we also have some utility functions related to any domain that you want. So if you want to work on computer vision, NLP, satellite imagery, OCR, time series, any domain you name, you will find helping and supporting functions for those domains. And also it allows companies and projects to reduce redundancy of code blocks, as I've already mentioned. As I have said, that it helps you to run different code blocks faster because it's already available to you. So it leads to faster testing and making faster decision on which model works best for you. And you also get access to complete pipelines, as I've already mentioned. And then you also get community powered issue and discussion sections for better execution of tasks. What I mean by this is that inside the repositories issue section, you will find a lot of issues that are posted by different users that get solved very quickly, because we have a vast or a very big and versatile collaborators inside the repository, which will help you to solve those issues as soon as possible, if any. And also it's very easy to use. We have a very comprehensive automated documentation. So if you go to the documentation, and I'll share you the link as well. So if you go to the documentation, you will find all the codes available. You will find it's since it's automated, it gets updated regularly, which means that you will never find any issues with the documentation or any missing code block inside the documentation. So thank you so much, Zarreen, for sharing all the links. So here you go. You can check out all the links. The only caveat is that the middle link, which is daxup.com/omdenalore/omdenalore, you won't be able to access that because OmdenaLore is a private repository. Yes, I mentioned it's an open source library, which means that anyone can use it, but not everyone can contribute to it. And I'll get to the contribution part very soon. So just the middle link you will not be able to access, but the top and the bottom link you can access. The very first link is the landing page, and the last link is the documentation itself. So the vision, as I mentioned, is that to make every organization in the world AI enabled, especially the NGOs and the impact-driven startup. And that is why we call this library the AI for Good library, because it helps the social and environmental good projects to come to market as soon as possible and make impact in real world life. So what value does OmdenaLore brings to organizations, startups, and individual developers? And I've seen there are a lot of individual developers as well as people from organizations and startups here. So first of all, it's a free to use platform. So what you can do as a person or as a representative of your organization, what you can do inside the issue section, what we do provide as a service is that you can post your problem statements or anything that you're dealing with. Let's say if you're trying to run a YOLO model, but it's not running for some reason, what you can do is you can post those problems inside the repository, and the collaborators will be able to solve those problems for you. So as I've mentioned, it's not just a library, it's a platform. It's a platform for collaborators to come and solve real world problems of real world companies, and companies to get to tap into that collaborator community, AI community, to get their problems solved as soon as possible. So let's say if you have a problem statement, if you have an issue with your any code, what you can do is come to the library, say that, hey, I'm trying to run this particular model, or hey, I'm trying to I really want some ideas on how I can start with this. You post it in the platform, and collaborators will help you as soon as possible. And this will help you to complete your backlogs as well. You also get complete support from the community, because they are managers who manage those repositories, and there are collaborators who make sure that your problems get solved as soon as possible. You get enthusiastic collaborators, as I've also already mentioned, and you get you can target different domain goals and just one platform. So let's say if you have a problem statement which involves computer vision as well as NLP, you don't have to go to two different platforms to solve those problems. You can find collaborators of different domains expertise in the same platform. So you can post anything you like, and I'm sure that you will find someone who can help you with this. And also, since as I've mentioned that it's a child project of Omdena, so you will find Omdena's project knowledge as well to accelerate your development environment. So after this, we'll have mid check-in. So quickly, I'll go through the website as well as documentation as well as repository. So I hope you can still see my screen. I have not shared my presentation, but I have shared my full screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Cool. Awesome. Awesome. So this is the landing page of Omdena. So whenever you go to omdena.com/omdenalore, you will find this landing page. What you can do with the very first thing that you can do is to quickly go and install this library on your own computer. So we are available on Python project, which is Python Index Manager. Um, so you can pip install OmdenaLore and start using OmdenaLore just like any other package like NumPy, Pandas, anything. We are still building this library more and more every single day. So if you have any errors, if you have any things, just reach out to me and I'll be able to solve it as soon as possible. Um, yeah, so that's the landing page. I'll come to the collaborators as well as organizations things first, but you can also go and click on the documentation button, and you can reach out to the documentation itself. So the documentation is open for you to check out. You'll find a lot of information here about the repository itself. You can also find a link here, join here, which will help you to apply to become a collaborator inside the repository. And I'll come to the collaborator part as well. We'll also have knowledge base. So this is actually currently in development. So we have already provided the links, but we are still trying to refine it more and more every single day. We have OmdenaLore guidelines. So if you become a collaborator, you can also check out the OmdenaLore contribution guideline as well, and you will find FAQ and support. So if you have any questions in future after this event, you can reach out to me. In this email, and I'll be able to help you with any questions that you have. There are some commonly frequently asked questions, so you can read out that as well. But do reach out to me if you have any questions via email. And the star of the show, the repository itself. Um, to be very honest, it will be very early for me to, it will be very overwhelming for you guys if I start explaining the repository to you. So it will be better if you guys can, check out the documentation, check out the repository and everything else, not the repository, but the landing page as well. So once you apply to become a collaborator, and if you get selected, we have an onboarding call with you guys, which will help us to explain you the repository, because it will need another hour to explain you all the things and whatever that is going on inside the library. So this will be out of scope for this presentation. So I'm just going to quickly skip through it. But yeah, so this is basically the repository. It's hosted on DAGSub, which is another version control software, just like GitHub. Everything is very similar here. DAGSub is our tool partner. That's why we have posted it here, but there's nothing new other than, it's just different names. That's all. Um, Coming to the presentation again. So um, if you want as an organization to partner with OmdenaLore, and by organization to partner, what I mean is that if you want to post your problem statements, if you want to post your backlogs inside the OmdenaLore repository, the the process to do that is you can go to again the landing page of omdena.com/omdenalore, and you can quickly go ahead and scroll and find this for organizations. um, all you need to do is to click on connect and fill up a form, a very short form. I think it's just 4 or 5 fields. Yeah, so just quickly fill up that form and we'll reach out to you, and you don't have to worry about anything after that. So we'll take care of all the process for you, and we'll reach out to you via email, and we can set up a call. And because for every other organization, it has some specifics that needs to be discussed. So it's better if you reach out to us and then we reach out to you back and we have a call, and that will be better for us. And that's the process for organization. It's pretty simple. Um, so I'm going to quickly go to Q&A and see if there's any question. I don't see any open questions. So if you have any question, guys, just quickly go ahead and type out. There is no such thing as wrong questions. So yeah, don't hesitate. Okay, so since there are no questions, and I think we are we are doing quite good on the time. So okay, cool. Let's move forward. Let's move forward to the community part. A lot of you guys are here who want to collaborate or contribute towards open source. So this part is specifically for you. So the foundation of OmdenaLore is the community itself. Since we wanted to build a platform that can help the impact-driven organizations and NGOs, we really wanted to build a community. And coincidentally, we built a very enthusiastic and a superb community. Like, people are active every single day. We really take pride in our community. We have hundreds of enthusiastic volunteers all over the world. We have, I think, the reach of Omdena is more than 100 plus countries all over the world, and we have hundreds of collaborators from multiple countries. We have built an open source, ever growing community, and the collaborators are handpicked by Omdena to fill up the shoes of either a coder or a domain expert. The process, I'll show you how you can be part of Omdena, but don't hesitate to apply to become OmdenaLore's collaborator. Yes, we said that we handpick the collaborators, but there is no interview. There is no coding interview. We won't say to type out the code blocks for finding the factorial of any number. So don't worry about that. So it's just a small application form that you guys need to fill. Which includes what's the motivation behind you joining OmdenaLore and small stuff. We'll probably do a small call with you, 5-10 minutes, and that's all. So it's pretty straightforward. There's nothing to um, get scared by. A very good question by Corinats. Where does OmdenaLore name OmdenaLore comes from? So as I mentioned that Omdena is the parent organization, and lore basically is an English word um, which means story, which means tale, which mean a tale, a story in general. So Omdena lore is basically the story of Omdena, because we have been including code, we have been including knowledge base from the a lot of Omdena projects that we have conducted. So as I've mentioned that we have conducted over 120 plus projects all across the world with different organizations. So we collected all of those, whatever we learned from those 120 plus projects, we combined that into one single library, and that's why we call it OmdenaLore. So yeah, that's a pretty good question. I never never no one asked me before that, but yeah, thanks for asking that. I do have another question with Giselle, but I think I'll answer that question in the Q&A session. Thanks. Um, so yeah, so we conduct regular community events to ensure that we have a community of collaborative and fun environment. So I understand that whenever a collaborator wants to join an open source project, it's very overwhelming. I personally myself, when I graduated, I really wanted to work on an open source project, but whenever I used to go into an open source project, I used to get bombarded with resources. I used to get bombarded with code that I really don't understand. I never found out where I can collaborate, and it's really very hard to fathom or understand all of the things inside the open source. Especially if you are working, especially if you are a student, you don't have much time in your hand. It's very hard to understand everything. So that is why we created OmdenaLore with a sorry for that. Yeah, so that is why we created OmdenaLore with the idea that we don't want collaborators to get confused. We don't want any friction between collaborators and the repository. So what we did was created a fun environment, a collaborative environment where we do onboarding calls, where we tell you what exactly is inside the repository, how you can contribute, what are their interests, what according to your interest, what is exactly going on in the repository. So let's say if you are interested in computer vision, we'll tell you that hey, this repository contains this model. We are trying to improve that model. This is already done. That is already going on. This is our future project. This is our future plan for 1 month, 2 month, 3 months. So we do everything in the onboarding. So once you do the onboarding call, which is every Friday and Saturday, you will be aware of whatever that is going on inside the repository in the community, and yeah, so that's the whole idea. We also have targeted sprints. So every Sunday, we what we do is we come together for n number of hours. So there's no limited hours. So you can join for 10 minutes, you can join for 1 hour, you can join for 3 hours. We do targeted sprints. We come together, we share resources, we talk to each other, give feedback to each other on the codes. We give feedbacks on ideas. We discuss, we brainstorm. uh, to be very honest, you can do anything that you want inside the report, inside the sprint, and every single person who has attended the sprint has learned something before they left the sprint. And we do also listen to music together. So that's a fun thing that we do inside the sprint. The third thing that is, I think, one of the most beneficial thing inside the repository. So whenever we do a targeted sprint, let's say we do a targeted sprint on computer vision or NLP, what we do is we bring out an expert of NLP or computer vision in the sprint. What this does is, if you're working on some code inside OmdenaLore, this person can help you if you get stuck in something, or if you don't have an idea on what you really want to do, or can also guide you on anything that you want to do. So let's say if you want to work on computer vision but have no idea on what you want to do, there is an expert that can help you. If you run into an error and you don't seem to get the solution of it, the expert can help you solve that error as well. We also have discussion and brainstorming, as I've already mentioned, and we do some live streams and many more events. So the events are very flexible towards the collaborators. So if the collaborator demands for some XYZ event, we try to include that in the agenda, and we try to include that in the schedule. So what value does OmdenaLore bring to contributors and collaborators is that you get to be part of a collaborative community, and I cannot stress enough how collaborative the community is, because I have never seen an issue raised for more than two days. Somebody or someone will definitely help you with any issues or any problem that you have. You can also make an impact by giving head start to future projects across the world. So if you invest your time inside OmdenaLore, we believe that in future or in coming times, NGOs and especially the early stage startups, impact driven startups can use OmdenaLore to decrease the development time, which will basically help projects. You can be part of projects across the world without applying or becoming part of that project. You can also learn through interactive sprint, gain experience by solving real world problem statements. So as I've mentioned, that companies come and put their issues inside the repository or any problem statement inside the repository. Um, you guys can go ahead and solve those by you will gain experience on what real world or project driven problems are, and you'll be able to solve those. You also get We also feature the top collaborators on our website or repository, so this will help you build your portfolio. If you're new to AI community, it will help you to gain some credibility inside the community. And also you can become reviewers for future pull requests, and definitely work in an open source culture, which I think is very important right now for the community. So the process for the collaborator is just as simple as becoming part or partnering with Omdena. So go to omdena.com/omdenalore, and you will find this contribute for a better world. You quickly go and apply. There will be a form, and just quickly fill up the form. And I think we take 2 or 3 days to respond to you guys, but in 2 or 3 days we'll accept or talk to you guys as soon as possible. And we'll basically take it afterwards or take it from there. So all you need to do is to just click on apply, and we'll reach out to you guys. Once you get selected, you will receive an email to join different platforms. For you will not different but Discord. So we have a Discord server, so you'll reach you'll receive a link to join that. uh, Once you join, we'll have an onboarding call with you, and then we'll take it from there. And basically that's the process for collaborators. And don't worry about and don't feel hesitant on applying. We will not make you do any technical course or any technical interview. It's just something that we want to learn from you. We want to learn who you are, and that's all. um and yeah, basically I'm done with the presentation. So I hope you guys have learned something. I hope you guys have I'm able to generate interest in with you guys. So I'll just quickly go ahead and answer these questions that I see. Okay, so I'm in a data analytics bootcamp, so new to this field. Okay, can I be part of Omdena, or do I need to have more experience first? So if you want to be part of Omdena, so you can go into omdena.com and you will find different projects, but that has a more strict policy of selections. But in the OmdenaLore, we do not see the experience level. We see the motivation, if that makes sense to you. So we won't be. So if you we are anyone with any experience level is welcomed in OmdenaLore. So if even if you're a student, or even if you are a PhD student, even if you are working in the field for more than 10 years, 12 years, everyone is welcome. So if you want to apply, experience is not going to be a problem. So yeah. But yeah, so if you want to apply to Omdena's the core project, so in Omdena we have core projects, which means that these have proper partnerships, proper project structure. There's going to be a project manager, and it's just like a normal project. So if you want to apply there, you can apply there as well, but it has a more strict policy of selection. As someone just starting out learning Python, do you have any tips on what level of technical knowledge is needed to be able to contribute? Um, so that's a very good question. Generally, what happens is someone who does not have experience and does not know a lot about AI or machine learning field. It's a myth that they cannot contribute to open source. Open source projects just do not consist of coding. It also consists of a lot of things other than coding, like building documentation, helping collaborators, helping with presentations, helping with different parts of the open source library. So if you don't know coding, that is also fine. But if you're learning coding, that is, that's the best place to go. So if you are learning Python, there's nothing better than hands-on practice. So if you are learning Python, just come to the repository. We'll do an onboarding call. I'll introduce you to the problems that can be solved using a basic level of Python knowledge. So with this basic level of Python knowledge, you will be able to solve those questions, and as well as you will gain experience and probably learn a lot more uh, using the library. So yeah. Um, okay, I'm seeing the chat. I see some questions there, so I'm just quickly going to glance to it. Uh,
So we already found one attendee, is Giselle. She's very interested to apply to
yeah,
Omdena.
that's awesome.
So that's really great. And I think Sneha is asking, are there any repositories in OmdenaLore that is registered under Hacktoberfest?
Sorry, I
Uh,
didn't get
so
that last question.
yep. So is like OmdenaLore is participating in Hacktoberfest this time?
Okay, so the issue with participating in Hacktoberfest, the repository needs to be public, and the repository is not public because we have a very strict policy on vesting into the collaborators, because we don't just let any collaborators come to the repository. We only allow the enthusiastic enough collaborators, because we don't want crowd, we want collaborators. So we are not part of Hacktoberfest right for now, but in future, if the repository goes public, then yes. For now, no. Going to apply to OmdenaLore today. Ah, that's awesome. Giselle.
So we have another question in the Q&A.
Mhm.
So can you give us any examples of charities and projects people have worked on within OmdenaLore?
Okay, so I cannot discuss projects with you right now, but I can give you example. Yeah, I can definitely give you example. The reason why I cannot, before coming into the example, just the reason why I cannot discuss any projects inside the OmdenaLore, because once you apply to become part of OmdenaLore, you also sign a, a agreement with us, kind of, that will help us to make sure that the solutions that the companies use from OmdenaLore does not go out or does not make made public. So I cannot give you proper names or proper exact problem statement, but I can give you an example. Uh, so there is a company XYZ who had a problem with loading big data sets. So what happened is that these company worked with a very huge satellite image. So if you know about satellite images, generally what happens is a satellite image of a country is so huge that it's very hard to load that satellite images into, especially into local machines or Google collaboratories. So these guys reached out to us and they posted this problem that, hey, we have limited storage, we want to load this satellite image but we don't know how. So some collaborators come up together, started working on it, and they come up with a solution where the whole satellite images they were able to load that into the local machine by slicing the whole um, satellite image into multiple parts. um, and we built a pipeline around it, so um, you don't need to check out one tile one by one. So it's kind of a pipeline tile which can you can just scroll through all the tiles using your driver code or your code that you already have. So that's kind of a small example, but we have problem statement as big as, hey, I want to build this model, and as small as, hey, I'm getting error in NumPy, can you solve this? So it's yeah, it's a huge range.
That's great. So we have another question in the chat. So
Mhm.
Sneha is asking, when you join OmdenaLore, do you get to choose projects based on your interest? And will there be any mentors to help us along with our journey?
Okay.
And I think she
So
also shared her experience. She was trying to contribute to some good first issue, but it was a little bit difficult for her to understand the whole process.
okay. So coming to the first question, so when you join OmdenaLore, yes, you can choose whatever you want to work on. So we don't have projects, we have problem statements. So there is no project like so there will be some project specific or project focused problem statements, but you won't find a complete project. So it's not going to be, hey, I have this data set, can you give me this result? So that's not the case. The reason why that is not the case is because we are focused towards solving those issues very fast, and having a complete project, it takes time. So we have a different side project for that, and once you join OmdenaLore, we'll tell you more about it. So definitely, there's no restriction on what you want to do. You can do anything you want to do inside the repository. You can work on documentation. You can work on any code, any domain. Uh, Even if you don't want to work and just share some music of yours to us, that is also completely fine with us. So just come to the repository. That's all we want. If you So will there be any mentors to help us along with your journey? No, there will be no mentors. You will have a lot of friends that will help you with any problem that you have. Um, because we don't believe in mentorship. We believe that everyone can learn something from everyone. So if you if you have any questions, if you have any problems with anything in the repository, I will be there 24/7 to help you with any questions. We have some managers inside the repository that will help you if you get lost or don't know what exactly you want to do. So we'll help you in recognizing the tasks that you can do. And also, if you don't know how to do that task, as I've mentioned, that we have sprints and we have experts that can help you and guide you towards how you can solve those tasks. So yeah, uh, I think that's also questions. Yeah, awesome.
Awesome.
Uh,
Thanks, Kaushal. We have another question in the Q&A. So Corina asked, what license is the code published under and why?
so this license is actually published under MIT license, open source license. The reason why we do this is because the library is open to everyone to use, and yeah, I think that's the whole point. I think you don't need to worry about the license because as a collaborator, you won't be interacting with the licensing stuff. Yes, if you want to use the code in any of your project, you can definitely use it. You can install it right away. Even before applying, you want to use the code, you can use it right away. Yeah.
Great. I have one question actually. So once someone gets selected as a contributor, is there any kind of time expectation, like this many hours they're expected to spend on working? Is there something like that?
Mhm. So definitely there is some expectations from the collaborators. So what happens is, as I've mentioned before, that we don't want crowd, we want collaborators. So we do remove inactive collaborators, but we don't expect them to at least do this much. So the collaborators that are active, we can easily recognize those collaborators. So you don't need to spend 10 hours, 20 hours to get recognized. We can recognize how many people are working how much. So even if you contribute 1 hour and you really work and you really show us that yes, you are working on something, 1 hour is more than enough. And because I know that once uh, any company starts posting their problem statements, the collaborators are so enthusiastic and so interested to solve those questions that they even work, let's say 30 hours, 20 hours per week. So it highly depends upon your interest on how much you want to work. There is no expectations, but we remove the inactive members of the community.
Great. And also, I was wondering, is there any like career opportunities for the contributors who, let's say, work well with some companies or some projects or use cases? Is there any kind of support from OmdenaLore that's given to them?
Okay, so we do have one thing. We have Omdena talent projects. So what we do is basically in talent projects, companies reach out to us, and that's a paid opportunity. We also have, so once you start contributing to OmdenaLore, the highest top collaborators, what we do is we recommend them to the Omdena projects. And once you start applying to Omdena projects, or you get selected in Omdena projects. So if you work on OmdenaLore and you are a top collaborator, you get direct ticket or direct, you can directly enter any Omdena project that you want. Once you go to Omdena project, you can start working on those Omdena projects, and that is like 8 week of project, and that has like strict timelines, strict uh, policy, strict project like structure. Once you complete that, generally what happens is that you have a lot of career opportunities from Omdena itself. And we also have talent projects, which is freelancing projects that can help you, that can, we can pay you to be part of those projects. So there is a community that you can be part of, you will be part of, and there will be constant posting of jobs or either talent projects that you can apply to, and we'll select those few people to, you'll get hired from there. So yeah.
That's great.
Mhm.
It was very inspiring, actually. Even I'm feeling inspired to at least check it out. And uh, who
Yeah.
knows, I may apply as well. Let's see. Just take
Yeah,
my chance.
definitely. Of course, you should definitely apply. And anyone who has any question, as I've mentioned before, you can just I'll just type my email ID here on the chat, and if you have any questions, just reach out to me. I just forgot putting M in the end, so yeah. So just reach out to me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. And once you join the community, I'm sure that you won't feel lost. You won't feel overwhelmed with information. There are a lot of people to help you.
That's great.
Awesome.
So is there more questions? Please feel free to ask any question. You have Kaushal, the VP himself today. So it's the best time to ask all your questions.
Yeah, please. As I've said before, there's no right or wrong questions. Just ask away. I
Also,
don't think there are any questions.
yeah,
Yeah.
just one, probably I was just curious about one question. So while you are selecting the contributors, so what is there any like criterias you look for, like, as you mentioned, like beginners or who are just starting off, they can also apply. So do you have some criterias, like how you distinguish between different levels of expertise and select?
Yeah. So the application process, to be very honest, is not a process to test your skills. It's more a process for us to recognize what experience level do you have, how much have you already done, and what are your interests. This helps us to basically guide you or guide anyone who applies to what is the right path or proper path that can help them to work on the law. So it's more kind of recognizing how enthusiastic you are and what experience level do you have, so that we keep in mind that how much information you need or how much guidance you need. So that's more about us rather than you. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Giselle, she say like she has already applied and looking forward to it. So I think that's super great.
Awesome.
And in
It's
the
great
chat,
to
people are
see.
saying, yeah, it was very
Yeah.
interesting and motivating. And they're
Awesome.
also going to share it with their classmates and contacts. I think that's great.
Awesome. So happy to see that. Cool.
That's great.
Sorry, I just had one question. So
Sure,
what
Sneha.
kind of companies do, like organizations come to OmdenaLore to give their problem statements? Is it mostly just
So
startups?
so we focus on companies that have some social or environmental good as their primary goal. So let's say somebody who is trying to put solar panels in Singapore, or someone who is trying to build schools for children. So it's more kind of a social and environmental good, and that's why we call it AI for Good library rather than just a library. Because yeah, that's the impact that we really want to make, and that is the whole goal of my life, that I really want to put in efforts towards making an impact in the social or environmental good. So yeah, that's the whole idea.
That's really amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, I'd like to remind that today's event is being recorded and it will get published in our Women Who Code YouTube channel. So there are more people will get to see it, and it will reach to even more people, and probably more people will get interested and motivated. So that's really great.
That's awesome. So I'm so happy to be here, guys. It's really good to see I see so much motivation around the attendees.
That's so great. And we would like to cordially like to thank you for your time and coming here. You must be very busy, but you took the time to come and share this information with
Yeah.
us, with our community. And I think it's a great start for people who haven't contributed to open source yet, because it's like a whole very organized uh, pipeline they can enter into. So I think that's a great opportunity for anyone.
Yeah. So that's super nice to hear, and actually, it's my pleasure to be here. I got to meet a lot of great people, enthusiastic collaborators here. So there's nothing more But there's nothing better than that. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much, Kaushal.
Yeah.
So if there is no other question, then probably we can end this event today. And everyone is thanking you and says it's very clear. It was very clear to understand everything. That's super
Yeah,
great.
it's awesome. Thank you so much, Zarreen, for having me, and Sneha as well for moderating the event.
Pleasure, great pleasure. So I would like to thank everyone, all the attendees for joining today and showing great enthusiasm. I wish you a very great rest of the weekend, wherever you, in which part of the world you are. So thank you. Take care. Bye,
Happy
everyone.
weekend, guys. Bye.
Bye.